Assalamu alaikum, good morning, khush aamdeed, ji ayanu, goeiemorgen.
Bukhair agale, ni hao, chure shumme, washmale, ohaya gozaimes, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal, hale shama chatore, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba, and a very amazing good morning to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning alongside the very talented Shiza Hashmi and Shazad Khan. Hello Shiza, how are you today?
I am great as usual, how are you?
Absolutely perfect, as usual, but not really perfect. I guess that, I went out to eat last night.
Okay.
And I don't think that, that the quality of the food was very amazing. So I'm having a bit of trouble, but it's perfectly all right. I can control that. Okay. What about you? How's the weather outside?
Oh, the weather is beautiful and okay, it's raining in Islamabad, Pindi, Rawalpindi and adjoining areas. And because the monsoon currents are penetrating in upper parts of the country, I know that because I've been reading news in the past few days. Other than that, it's beautiful outside. The view is absolutely breathtaking, and it was a beautiful drive.
Exactly, and I've got one simple public service message for everybody out there, and I think that there was a need to put the message out. And that was that, alhamdulillah, we all belong to a privileged background. We turn on the air conditioners while we sleep or while we sit. But now with the change in the weather, when it's raining, I feel the need that, that the air conditioners need to be turned off.
Yes.
So I guess it's all our responsibility, even though the kids out there, they just take advantage of whatever their parents have to say, or the love or the amount of love they have for their kids, they will never stop you. So please make sure that you never burden them with something which is very unnecessary, and it applies in all walks of life.
I'll be honest, there's a lot of humidity without AC today.
Yeah, I know, but but while it's raining, I don't think that it's humid. So that's what we need to do, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get started, what we need to do is that we need to take a look at the top stories for today. Let's see what's happening.
Let's take a look.
Good morning.
Chairman Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Imran Khan says the government will go to International Monetary Fund after thorough deliberations as the country faces financial crisis.
Moving on, where the Election Commission of Pakistan issues notification of the all successful candidates in the recently held general elections. Congratulations to all who got the notifications.
And as we've mentioned, heavy rain lashes the capital Islamabad, Rawalpindi and other parts of Upper Punjab. Spillways of Islamabad's Rawal Dam have opened.
Exactly, and then I just wanted to ask how's the way? Is it like all flooded, or do you really have to?
It was really flooded yesterday.
Yeah.
But not really today.
So it's all good now.
Yeah, it just started raining. Maybe it gets worse by the end of the day probably, but I hope not.
But people living alongside Nalalai, I think that's what it is in Rawalpindi. You guys have to be careful. There have been reports on different media channels as well that that people really need to be careful who are living in the surrounding areas of the Nalalai. So please make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that you are safe and maintain safe distance from the Nala itself.
And do not forget your umbrellas or raincoats.
Yeah.
But the show that is, we're talking about today. Before we move on to what it is, there's a question that I have for you.
Go ahead.
So ever since I started doing news or starting to do this show, a lot of people ask me, do you have any reference in media? How did you get there? I'm pretty sure you get to face similar questions.
Obviously.
So I am going to ask you again, how did you? I mean, I know, but the viewers want to know.
Okay, so this, it is not very simple. I'm sorry that I'm stuttering early in the morning, but it was in a way simple for me too as well. But all it took was hard work and a lot of dedication. And why? That's something I'm going to tell you. So what happened was that, one of my friends opened up a TV channel. One of my very amazing friends, Kevon, if you're listening out there, thank you very much for the first opportunity. And I was a university student back then. I was in the 5th or 6th semester of my bachelor's. So his elder brother walked up to me, Mukhtar Bhai, and he said that, we're opening up a channel. You've got a good face. Why don't you join us? I was like, wow, I'm happy to, I was very excited.
And you were in university then?
Yeah, I was in my university, and I always wanted to be a part of the television or the film industry because of only one person.
Okay.
And I'm going to mention that. It was because of Sanjay Dutt. So, early in my childhood years, I watched the film from a keyhole, because back then I wasn't really allowed to watch films. So my parents can't. So that was a Sanjay Dutt film. And since then, it always stuck to my head. So what happened was then there was a competition which was known as VJ Hunt. It happened in 2009 on a private channel, and God willing, I mean there's quite a lot of stress in it, because it took 3 months to complete the competition. I was in Karachi, Lahore, everywhere else, And fortunately, I won that competition,
Okay,
and
wow.
I'm very thankful to the media channel that they actually offered me a job. I worked over
No,
there
but
for
that's
five,
great.
six
You were
years.
not even trained or something. You just won out of your
But
talent.
you know what? Those 3 months
Yeah.
where we were competing against each other, different competitors were there. Almost 2 to 3,000 people were there to audition,
Oh God.
right? So
Okay.
so you kept on filtering, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
once
yeah.
when I heard that I won, so that was the time when I realized that these 3 months
Yeah.
of crucial hard work were actually my training classes, and
Okay.
and they helped me too as well, because they'll give you tasks, for example, that you have to go over here, you have to talk to 100 people, or you have to
Okay.
gather 100 people.
Okay.
Now it depends on you what
Right,
ways and
right.
what mediums you opt for. So this is how life changed for me. And
Okay.
then eventually when PT World was opening up, so I sent my CV, they called me in, and somebody coming from entertainment industry and being a news anchor was
Yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
difficult,
Oh, you were a
because
news anchor here before.
yeah,
Yes, yes.
because what happened was my father called me because he thought that it's been 5, 6 years he's
Yeah.
been living on his own.
Okay.
It's better that we call him back
Yeah.
before he never comes back.
Okay.
So he called me once and he was like, "Son, why don't you come?" I was like, "Why not?"
Okay.
Because it was my parents who supported me all this time,
course.
so I should do that. So I reciprocated, and ever since then, things have always been very beautiful. So there are
Mashallah.
two things which I'm going to convey
Okay.
today.
Okay.
One is, we never know where our destiny is,
Yeah.
but all we can do is that one step after another one. This is what we can do. This is
Yeah.
what is in our capacity.
doing, yes.
And the other thing is, you have to have faith. That is very important. But whatever your parents tell you, don't argue with them. Listen to them, and life will be
They know
beautiful.
best. They know
But
best.
how did you land in PTV?
Okay, it's a long story, but long story short, right after I was done with my graduation, I studied multimedia journalism. So I sort of had an idea that I wanted to pursue journalism.
All right.
And I knew that I wanted to start that with newscasting. So right after my graduation, I was sending my CVs and my videos into every possible channel in Islam, but then none of them was responding, because I don't think anyone checks their mails, to be honest. Literally no one responding. So a month later, when I realized nothing's working, I took my CV in my hand and I just, started walking to every place.
Yeah.
But the first place I came to was PTV,
All right.
and I was lucky.
Wow, that's cool. And ever since then, even you do not have to look back. And PTV, ladies and gentlemen, have been the, I would say, the beacon.
Yeah.
PTV has been the beacon of light. PTV has taught so many other people,
It's a
those
mother
legends.
institution. You
Those,
learn and
yes,
you move on.
exactly. That's what it is. But for me, I always wanted to give back. So I learned from somewhere else, and I think that I'm glad, I'm happy that I learned from a private sector
Okay.
channel and then came to the government or the public sector, and I think things were very different for me too as well.
Okay.
So it's a different experience. So you can learn and you
And
can
you can
take
practice,
off.
yes.
Either you can learn and then take off and land over here too as well.
Okay,
But
that
this is
makes
what we are
sense.
talking
Yeah,
about today.
but when we say media, when we say the people who are working in media, the media practitioners, it's not only acting or it's not
Yeah.
only on-screen work. You have no idea the amount of work that goes off screen. We have cameras, cameramen, producers, we have our helpers, we have researchers, we have assistant producers, directors, and IT guys. There's so many people. I'm pretty sure I'm missing out on a lot of people. There's
Yeah,
makeup
and
team.
I'm telling you that if you're going to miss out on a few departments, those people won't be
I'm
happy
sorry if I am,
in the
but-
MCR right now. So I think we have got people from audio too as well.
Yes.
We have got people
Sound,
from
yes.
we have got people from editing department.
Yeah.
We have got people from almost it's not just me and Shiza over here
Yeah.
right in front of you guys. It's whole lot of
We are
people.
just
It's
the
a
face
big
of the
team.
team. It's a big team,
There's
yeah.
this administration level, then there's this production team, then there are these anchors, then researchers,
Yeah.
and a lot of hard work goes down. And half of the time, I know that kids these days, they do not want to be cameramen. They do not want to be a boom operator. They do not want to do these jobs. But there are people who are doing that, and
I
they
know
have made a
people who
name,
want
and
to.
they have made a name for
Yes.
themselves as well. But this is what we are talking about, whether media
Yeah.
is a good career or not. But when we talk about media, obviously it's not now television or
Yeah.
film, as Shiza said. It's social media as well.
Yeah.
It's freelancers as well. It's bloggers as well.
There's production, there's
it's
direction, yes.
vloggers as
Yes.
well. So there are different types of things as well. But today we have invited a lot of amazing guests over here.
From different capacities of
yeah,
media.
from different
actually.
walks of life, within the media. From within the media,
Yeah.
somebody wants to be an anchor, somebody wants to be an actor, somebody wants to be a narrative documentary
Filmmaker,
maker
yes.
as well, and somebody over here is a counselor too as well. So on my right hand side, ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by somebody who's a documentary narrative filmmaker as well. She has won quite a lot of different awards too as well.
Yeah.
She's none other than Miss Uruj Kamran Azmi. Hello, Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Walaikum salam. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you
It's our
very much for
pleasure,
joining us. It's a
absolutely.
pleasure. Alongside Mr. Rouge, we have been joined by somebody who's an analyst. He's a corporate trainer. I mean, you can call them whatever you want. He's been on the show several times. is none other than Mr. Asif Rasool. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Ki haal hai choi sir? Theek ho?
Bilkul theek hai.
Tan-tan?
Maze mein.
Zabardast. And alongside Mr. Asif Rasool, we have been joined by somebody who's an actor, model. He's worked in 2 short films as well. And he wants to be an actor. He's a great guy. He's still studying, I guess. He's none other than
He's working,
Miss
yeah.
Imran Khan. Mr. Imran Khan. Sorry for that. Hello, how are you? Assalamu alaikum.
I'm doing good. How are you?
Sorry for my,
Slip of tongue. It's okay.
slip of tongue, but it's perfectly all right. Thank you very much for making it to the studios. And last but not the least, ladies and gentlemen, he wants to be an anchor person. Precisely, he wants to be a journalist himself.
Yeah.
He's none other than Mr. Hamza Safir, and he's studying. Hello, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum. I'm good. I'm good.
Thank you very much for joining us. So let's get the conversation started with Mr. Asif Rasool.
Okay.
First things first. So Mr. Asif Saab, now since you were an analyst and you were a corporate trainer,
Yeah.
so with all the skills you have, analyze and let us know whether in the near future these jobs will be the perfect jobs for the generations to come or not.
Well, first of all, we have to see the role of the media.
Okay.
So, in classic definition, we have got mainly these 3 roles. Its job is to educate,
Yeah.
entertain, and to provide a kind of
Inform.
Information. Looking at these 3, but now in this modern era, they're just overlapping with each other. When we just look at this specific question, in which you've just asked, we can see the way Pakistani media or the media, the way it's thriving in Pakistan. It's really a very lucrative business in the future. And there are so many channels. Almost it's there in every direction. For example, you have rightly mentioned even social media. Now we have got even proper departments of social media in different companies as well,
Yes.
corporate sector. So when they're going to properly acknowledge, it means there are huge jobs. Now, looking at this perspective, we need to change perspective, as she has rightly said, and I was just looking at that specific gap. Where do we have these gaps?
Yeah.
Well, many people in the universities, when they're studying, they've got only this theoretical perspective. Unfortunately, there is no proper structure, the way you have got the structure.
Yeah.
Rightly, you have said that students, they just look at these faces and then they just imagine that, well, that's going to be the wonderful place.
Right.
What if they are going to have a proper structure and they're just going to work in all the different varieties of field in this proper structure? Believe me, they are going to have a very different perspective on this.
All right.
And then people are just going to have. Right now, people are just working on these set paths. So until and unless we are not going to have people or youngsters, those who are going to, as Robert Frost rightly says, untrodden path.
Okay.
Okay.
It's very risky,
Where
very
nobody has
challenging
been.
one, where nobody's there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll start it with this Donald Trump's quotation. Donald Trump says,
Are you
especially
opening
about business students, not in that
sure.
political sense.
Okay,
I know
sure.
there are so many
Please
issues
go
and
ahead.
problems, but as a businessman,
Sure.
Yeah.
he said that instead of directly inducting these business graduates into the classes, first of all, send them to their dream jobs, their specific industries.
Okay.
Let them stay there at least for 6 months, this much time, and then induct them directly in the classes. Now, there's a huge chain.
Okay, no, okay, that's fine if there's a huge change. But do you think that it applies on people who want to be a part of the media houses or probably TV channels? Do you think it will apply
It
on
works
them?
in the same way. If you allow me just to finish. No, the way the business students are going to have a different perspective. Similarly, people who are just going to come to the industry, right from the start, okay, our students normally stay inside the classes, and after finishing, the way she has said, after finishing my degrees, I started looking for a job.
Yeah.
I would say in this job employment communication, right from day one, and today in this program, I just want to legalize this one concept.
Okay.
Sure, go ahead.
Proper links.
Legalize.
Legalize.
All right.
Proper links. Do not take it negatively.
Okay.
You should develop these links, and people should properly guide you how to develop your links.
Exactly.
And they're really going to support you right from, because mentorship, it's a
So you're
wonderful
talking about
phenomenon.
PR, I guess.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, moving on. But I want to continue the conversation on a similar note, but asking Aruj. Now, since you're into production, I'm sure you love making films. You've made documentaries, short films as well. But to all the people who actually want to enter media but on screen, what do you want to tell them? Why did you choose production?
It was an accident, I guess.
Or was it? Did you study it?
It actually was a bit of an accident.
Okay.
I actually entered my bachelor's with the intention of going into communication research.
Okay.
And I was interested in the media landscape, but I was thinking more from a research point of view.
Right. Okay.
But when I took a few production courses, I realized I was like, I really enjoy being behind the screen.
Okay. And there was no point in time when you thought, okay, you know what? I should appear on screen.
I took a few theater classes,
Okay.
so that developed my interest in acting.
Okay.
But I don't know, I really enjoy the thrill of being behind the screen.
Okay, but there's one thing different about your life. Ladies and gentlemen, since we were talking about media as a career, now, since we were talking with Mr. Asif, we were in conversation, and, even me and Shiza, we had a conversation that how to get into a media channel. Now, for people who are filmmakers, I think that they're very independent because they have their own ideas, they have their own equipment, and they do not rely on any media house or any single person to be in relation with them so that they can talk it out, or they can probably get themselves hired on a television channel. So that's one major difference. So when you actually did all of these courses and you even had the option, this is the first thought in every Pakistani kid, that when you grow up, you have to, go look for a job. This is what it is. Nobody tells you that be an entrepreneur, be a businessman or businesswoman.
That's true.
So how did you come up with this thought that, I'm not going to let anybody else decide about my destiny, I'm going to do it myself? How did you do it?
Sure, that's a very interesting question.
Thank you.
And the reason why I say that is because obviously as a woman, I feel like the way that society is set up, you have a very select path that you have to choose.
Okay.
And for me, I was always a little nervous about entering even journalism, even though that's pretty mainstream at this point. It's very welcoming for women. But the concept of a woman entering filmmaking, especially behind the camera, was not as common. So for me, I think that my parents are to applaud for this.
Okay.
Basically,
They were supportive?
They were very supportive.
Okay.
I think you mentioned in the beginning saying you should listen to your parents.
Yeah.
I would alter that a little bit. I would say show them that you can actually do what you're claiming you
No,
want
because
to do.
my parents never told me either to get married or, be a doctor or be an engineer. They said, whatever you can do, just go ahead, do it. Because, my academic record, till the time I was in A levels was so bad that I cannot even tell you. And all of a sudden, university changed me. And then, my GPAs got higher and, I got scholarships too as well. So for me, it was different. And, everybody's got a different story to share. So share yours. Don't alter mine, okay? Go ahead.
Sure. I mean, I think for me, academically, I was starting to get very weak towards the end of my high school, and that's when I was starting to lose a little bit of hope in my, my academic future. But the same story. I mean, in college, I realized I was doing what I was passionate about, and I think that's what really changed the game for my parents. They began to realize, okay, this is something she enjoys, this is something she's good at, and this is something she's proven that she can sort of excel in.
Okay.
So they were very supportive. They were
So
like,
you sort of built your trust in them.
Yes,
They're
I had
trusting
to.
you, okay,
I had to sort of convince them.
Okay.
But I think it's all about you just have to prove to them that you can
Right.
actually do what you want.
Okay, but similar question to you, Imran. I gather that you're working elsewhere as well. Your acting is sort of a side profession for you.
Yes,
Or do you want to pursue it as a full-time profession? Or is it actually something that you should pursue as a full-time profession?
well, if you can, I think you should. For someone who wants to do this, like for me, like I want to do acting like as much like since I was a kid, I wanted to do acting.
Okay.
But as I grew up, I started realizing there are not much opportunities out there as much I want them to be. So for me right
Okay,
now,
so let me put it this way. You said since you were a kid you wanted to be an actor. Is it because of the fancy and the lavish lifestyle that you were watching on screen ever since you were a kid? Or was it because you were actually passionate about expressing yourself through acting?
for me, it's just about being different person every day.
Okay.
That's why I like acting. Like growing up watching Jim Carrey, Jack Nicholson,
Okay.
people like that. I just wanted to have that personality with
Okay.
myself as well. Like if you ever watched The Grinch, or Ace Ventura or stuff like that, like those really big films, like
Okay.
back in the 90s and everything. So for me, that was the thing that triggered, like I want to do this every day.
Okay, I'm glad that you've watched that film and you have it in your head as well, and that's the kind of work you want to do. Now, when you talk about Jim Carrey, for example, these people are living legends. For me, they are, because
They
Jim
are,
Carrey does
yeah.
not exist now. You might have gone through that too
Yeah.
as well. Now, do you think that the industry you are in right now will actually be possible? Do you think that it will be possible for the industry itself to produce a film of that sort or of that genre over here, or you will definitely have to aim higher for probably Hollywood? Then if that's the type of work you want to do, because there are no barriers. All you have to do is send in your auditions, record yourself, and if people like it, you're there. So how do you want to do it?
Well, first I wanted to go to Hollywood. I'm not gonna lie about it. But then I was like, it's much better if I just somehow bring all of that technology and all of that standard back in my own home country.
Wow.
Because right now, I would say there's a lot of raw talent in Pakistan, and it's just not being directed in the right place.
Yeah.
So if we have a platform or something like that will actually guide these youngsters on how to actually groom themselves properly, they will waste less time. and actually get where they want to be in life.
No, but this is how trends are. For example, Tifa in Trouble breaking all records.
Exactly.
Then we had Jawani Phir Nahi Aani. Then we had there was this other film as well where there's Mohsin Abbas had and Fahad Mustafa in it as well. Karachi, I think it
Na
had.
Maloom
Karachi
Afraad.
Na Maloom Afraad. You know,
Yeah.
these are the type of films who are doing great amount of business on box office. So do you do you think that in the years to come people will be able to understand films like Manto, because Manto wasn't really
I
a
loved
hit
Manto. Oh God.
over here in Pakistan, but the
Yes.
Manto, when people made it from across the border, Nawazuddin Siddiqui played
It was
Manto.
so appreciated. Yes.
Everybody appreciated
Yes.
it. So how do you think that we're going to learn to adapt to newer cinema screens?
Well, I would say education. Like if we educate ourselves, we would understand that there are a lot of other things in the basically in life that we can actually show people. Because right now all the movies that you mentioned, they're all funny scripts.
All right.
Like Pakistani people love to watch stuff happen on the
Entertainment,
screen.
basically.
Exactly. But
Right.
there are so many other things that we don't touch.
Okay.
Let's say child being raped or women being raped
Yeah.
and stuff like that. We should make movies about that so people will understand that.
Well, there
these
is a
things-
person who tries to make documentaries about that, and a lot of people actually, make it a controversy.
Okay.
But moving on to Hamza.
Okay,
So,
but let's move on to Hamza
Yeah.
over here, because
I'll
Hamza's been
start-
waiting for long.
Yes, very basic questions first of all. Since you're a student and you're
Yes.
doing your internship in a media channel, what are you studying?
I'm doing bachelor's in media and communication.
So what was it that made you think that, you want to pursue journalism?
Actually, I was not so good in studies, basically.
Why do people
I'm sorry.
No,
it's my
in a matter that I want to do something different
Okay.
and something productive and practical, basically.
Okay.
Because I belong to a family of doctors, engineers, and even if forces.
Okay.
So even today,
Well, how can you make a face like that? I've got a family of doctors, engineers.
No, no.
Oh, yeah, forces.
Because you
I
want to do
meant to
something
say,
different.
actually, I'm trying to
But
understand.
don't feel bad about that. Come
No,
on.
no, I'm not feeling bad. Actually, they're still saying me, why don't you go to the army or do something else? And actually, So my mom, actually, she's so supportive to me.
Okay.
She said, okay, whatever you want to do it to the extent of your
Okay.
level. So I choose media there because it is a diverse field. So basically, I personally, I have interest in different categories, basically.
Yeah,
I
like
have
what?
I want to be anchor person. I have a interest in current affairs.
Okay.
So that's why I've chosen media,
No, but
because
you
it's
say you have
diverse.
interest. But I don't want to, pressurize you, but I
No,
really
no.
wanted to ask you because this is sort of my field. So
Yeah.
yes, So when you say you're into current affairs, why is there only one option for you? Why do you want to be an anchor person only? I mean, you can be a researcher.
Because
there's
they
so many
make
other
good
things that
money.
you-
Come on.
No,
it's
no.
common
Not
sense.
really. I'm telling you, not really.
That
But
matters in a sense.
Yeah.
Of course, it matters. You have
Of
to run a
course,
family.
you
That-
have to run a
I
family.
agree that matters.
But you do not have to run 10 families. Come on. You just have to run our family. No, but that's great. It's your
Run
choice.
yourself,
But okay,
basically.
since you want to be an anchor person,
Yeah. Yes.
you know that you have to be on top of politics. You need to know each and everything
should
and
be
what the
updated
current
every second
situation
of the
is.
time.
So I've got a simple question just to ask. And it's a very simple question, believe me. Who do you think is the caretaker Prime Minister of Pakistan?
Nasser Mulk.
Oh, thank you very much for that. So he's on top of his subject. This is what we require you to do. But ladies and gentlemen, at this very moment, all we need to do is that we need to share a clip from a Pakistani documentary. Go ahead, take a look. And when you come back, all right, and when you guys are going to come back, what we'll do is that
We'll
we'll
continue
actually
the
ask
conversation.
Uruj over
Yeah.
here that how life is at the back of the camera and how rough and tough they have to be. All right, go ahead, take a look at this trailer.
ये मेरा बेटा है जो जेल में है तो इसको 20 साल हो गए अंदर जेल में मैं अपने बेटी के घर आऊँ उसके ना मैं सुबह उठ के नमाज पढ़ के बाहर पानी लगा रही हाँ पौधों ਨੂੰ तो एक लड़का हमसाया आया तो मेरा बेटा गाड़ी ਤੇ इधर मेरी बेटी के घर भी आंदा ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਆ ਕੇ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਮਾਂ जी अंदर से अखबार लाओ मैं क्या होया अखबार लेके आओ कहता ले आओ तुसी तुम्हारा जो बेटा इधर गाड़ी ते आंदा सी ना उसने कत्ल कर दिया मैं कहूँ तो इस तरह का है ही नहीं वो वाकई मैं देखी अखबार ते उहदे उत्ते लिखिया कि शादबाग थानेदार ने फड़िया है अज इसको 3 दिन हो गए तो मैं उन्होंने कहा जाके कि तुसी मेरे बेटे ने क्यों पकड़िया तो उन्होंने कहा असी शक ही पकड़िया असी छाड़ देंगे वो शक ही पकड़द्या 20 साल हो गए मैंने रोलद्या
So, ladies and gentlemen, this was basically a documentary which is produced by Aruj here, and it's called Convict of 302. Anuruj is basically going to tell us what this is about.
Sure. So basically, I created this documentary because I wanted to explore the death penalty laws in Pakistan. It was part of a but university project. It was funded by an organization called the Pulitzer Center. And basically, the reason why I did this was because I think after the APS attacks, there was a very interesting idea that executions are going to be brought back into Pakistan. And what I wanted to explore was actually the journey of the executioner and how he sort of came back into the industry.
Right.
And but what ended up happening was I found out that a lot of people who are in the jails on the death row were people who were not getting fair trials. So we ended up exploring that a little bit. We were trying to see how these people were not getting justice.
So
But you know the thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
The thing with filmmaking is, when you talk to people that I want you guys to be in a documentary, most of the time they're expecting for you to help them in the end. Did this happen to you?
Just say it, pay them.
No, I don't mean
What
that.
kind of help then?
Well, okay, I will explain.
Oh, okay.
So when you're working with this person, did they expect for you to help them in the court matters as well? Or
yeah.
maybe there was this one time I was working with a group of transgenders. They were very lovely to talk with and everything, but for some reason they expected me to help them out of a certain situation, which I was not there for.
Yeah.
But does that happen to you a lot?
Yeah, that was tough. I think especially when we were interviewing the mother of a man who was imprisoned and who was on the death row, it was very emotional. But it got more emotional when she asked me to help her, and I was like, my job is to provide a platform and a voice and to inform the people so they can help you out.
Okay.
But I think it becomes it takes a toll on you a little bit when when you can't help out.
Exactly.
But they do.
But that's not your job, right?
Yeah. So, but at the same time, I think that there is a very interesting combination of journalism and social activism that takes place in Pakistan, and I do feel like that's an interesting place for me to enter as well. Just even though I don't have a background in law, but just connecting them to the right people, I feel like that's also part of our
That's great. I think you're on the right path, and this is what you need to do, and it's untrodden too as well. But let me move on to Asif Saab.
Yeah.
Asif Saab, what I've seen is that because what happens is once you make a name for your own self, you tend to settle down, you tend to be a bit picky about work too as well, and then all of that work is definitely going to the younger generations. What I believe is that the younger generations today have got a greater capacity, they are more full of energy, and they look more fresher on screen than the previous generations. It's not that I do not respect them. With due respect and with due apologies, I think that the newer talent needs to be on screen after every now and then. There should be a platform where we should actually be channelizing them.
Yeah.
That here
is
are the
new talent,
people,
yes.
and this is what you need to do. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, just grab them, whatever work they want to do, please make sure that it happens. Do you think that they have the strength, they have the capacity? Do you think I'm right?
With full conviction, I second your opinion, Shahzad. There are different eras. For example, right now we have got middle-aged people who are like 40, 45 plus, 50. They grew up in a very different era. Now we have got entirely a different era. For example, especially when we just look at this technology, social media, and different aspects. Now they have got a very different perspective on this. Now younger lot, according to this era, younger lot are in the best position to properly cater the needs of this current situation and all that. For example, only looking at this technology, the way younger lot, they really feel very much comfortable. And I mean, when I just go through different articles in newspapers, or when we just look at different people in youngsters in different media, believe me, their work is wonderful. For example, just go through a few columnists who all are young. The way they just go through different information, and the way they just put this information in properly, this what we call through this factfulness. That's wonderful. So I would say the younger lot, since they are exposed to a lot many different things, they've got different perspective, because our older lots, perhaps they were just only exposed to this theoretical lecturing mode. But now they're through this YouTube, as one of our guests was telling, that through it I'm just learning, and when we're just talking there. So they have got like varieties of exposure. They've got very innovative ideas. And since when they're just looking at the different aspect, they have got more energy, stamina, passion, And believe me, when they are just going to properly align this in the media, we would see a wonderful change in this.
Okay, I totally agree with you, Mr. Asif, but when you say there's a saturation of media, there's traditional media, there's non-traditional media, point being there are a lot of platforms, but is it really, easy for the younger generation as compared to the older one to get into the media scene, is what we're going to ask Hamza and Imran when we come back after a short break. Stay tuned.
Good morning. Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. For everybody who just got tuned into PTV World, you watching World this morning alongside Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about media as a career for youngsters, for the future generations. We've been joined by some amazing guests. Earlier, we were in conversation with our guests, and they have been telling us what needs to be done, what we do not need to do. I think, and Shiza wanted to move on with further conversation too as well, but there's one small thing which I would love to say, that I think half of the time people do not even know the right process to apply to a channel or to a modeling agency, and this is something which we will hit upon towards the end of the show.
That's true, I agree with that, because I'm one of the people who actually still doesn't know what the process is. So moving on to you,
and she's still in the channel. Wow, imagine.
Wow, how magical. But okay, moving on to you, Hamza. So, as Shahzad and Mr. Asif were talking about how it's easier for the younger generation to be a part of the media scene. Is it true, though?
No, I wouldn't agree with that. It's not easy.
Of course it's not easy. So I want you to tell me what the process for you was.
Sorry, what process?
What the process for you was to enter this scene.
It was basically just like, letting people know this is what I want to do, and if they want to hire me as an actor or something like that, they can give me give me a call and stuff. So, but I would say the young generation, the new people, they are finding it hard. Even I am still finding it hard. I have done work and everything, but I'm still finding it hard to get more work because people don't want to take a chance.
Okay, let me ask this. Do you think it's merit based?
No, I don't want to answer that. I don't want to go there.
He still wants to be an actor, all right? Please don't do that, Shiza. Don't put them in a hard spot. Yeah. Okay, but moving on to Hamza over here. Now, Hamza, it looks like that you're on top of your game. You want to do it. What comes to your head? How do you think that you're going to be a part of a channel? Since you were an internee at a local media channel too as well. So what comes to your head that what kind of internship services will you provide them that they will offer you a job?
Yeah.
Of course, to get into some organization, you have to be, first of all, you have to hold on yourself, what you got. Because they're not seeing just your face, they're not seeing just your degree, they're seeing your work.
Yeah.
So they have to apply, of course, generate some good PR, and then go, and some other channels go and drop their CVs. So there's a hard work for the young people. Sorry, what?
How important is PR for journalism as well?
PR is really important.
Really?
In terms of reporting, first of all, you have to be the best on your ground to achieve knowledge or reports. Basically, this is a section of reporters.
Okay.
Then comes to upper level. Then, for example, producers, directors, you have to if you have a good PR, you can get a program.
Okay, I'm going to give you an example over here, and there's a slight disagreement. Not that I'm disagreeing to it 100%, and agree to what Mr. Asif Saab said related to PR too as well. You know, I think this is a misconception, ladies and gentlemen, over here in Pakistan, that what we do is that we think that, calling somebody up and, asking them whether, that you are ready for an interview, or whether you can ask for my son to be hired over here or there or whatnot. What our youngsters are missing upon on is that, for example, when Mr. I guess from Capital Talk, his name is Hamid Mir.
Hamid
Yeah.
Mir.
So, ladies and gentlemen, he didn't come into journalism just like that. I mean, he's one of those guys who put his life on stake. He went to interview Osama bin Laden, and all of them, all of these other journalists, for example, Talat Hussain, he was from PTV2 as well. What happens is, why can't the youngsters actually think about getting an interview which the world wants?
Yeah.
And if you are able to do that, just do not have to ask for a job from anybody. People will come to you, come work for us. This is how it happens. So stop telling me about PR. Go do your work.
Yeah, that's
I think that's what
Of
needs
course,
to
you
be
have
done.
to show something to the world.
Yes,
Yeah.
and what
you
is
are
that?
capable of.
So this is what's wrong with our youngsters, that they do not have a concept of what they want to do. Now you want to be a journalist, but you do not know how to build a program. So I think this is something which you need to work on. That okay, these are the people whom I'm going to interview. I mean, and you have to pick up on people whom people want on television. For
Yeah.
example, Sheikh Rashid Saab. Everybody wants to listen to him because of the fact that the way he speaks is so blunt and upfront that people are like, oh my God, something's going to happen. And Pakistanis love masala. I'm not going to lie about it. Pakistanis love masala. That's how it is.
Okay, no, that's the thing, that's the thing. But the good thing is that you're still a student, right? So you have enough time to figure out what you want to do in the future. That it's perfect that you want to pursue journalism, and you should, because I feel like you do have a, element in you. But before we move on to Mr. Asif, before wrapping up the show, I know you have a question for him.
Go
But Mr. Imran, a short film of yours is coming out?
That is
Okay,
correct.
what's the name?
It's called Gali Ke Kutte.
Okay, what is it about?
Basically,
Looks
the
interesting.
Yeah, the character I play.
We've got the poster too as well. Oh, looks
Oh,
sick.
wow, looks
Is
very
that you?
Yeah.
Is that your
I don't
beard?
recognize
No,
it.
No,
I'm on the left.
Oh,
The one with
wow.
the scarf.
So what is it about?
Basically, the character that I'm playing, he's a beggar,
Okay.
and the story is about the things he goes through. That's all I can say about.
Can you say a few lines, by the way? Can you share a few lines from the
From the
short
film that you've
from
done.
the from the short film
Yeah.
itself?
Some dialogues of yours, probably?
One of the best dialogue. You think that it was the best dialogue.
Well, the guy asks me like, कहाँ से आएगा पैसा? And I just look at him. I'm like, पैसा आएगा पैसा.
I got paisa.
Yeah.
Paisa aayega. All right.
Can't wait.
Okay, that's great. Let me just move back to Rouge over here. Now, Rouge, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds to talk to all those women out there. This is what I want you to do. I want you to inspire all those ladies out there who have been thinking about being a part of the media houses or the TV channels or documentary filmmaking, whatever, but their parents didn't allow them. Talk to their parents and talk to those women and tell them how it was for you.
Sure. I just want to start by saying that I think that a lot of people think that women can't do it just because of the way that society set up. It's out of fear. It's not out of you can't do it. It's because they're afraid that they will get harassed or they will get, they won't get the opportunities, which is true. But it's all about giving them the platform to fight for themselves. So I think from parents' point of view, it's your responsibility to sort of support them, to sort of encourage them to move forward if they're really passionate about it. And for women who are interested in this, I think that you should not be afraid to go behind the camera, go in front of the camera. I think that there aren't enough women cinematographers, for example, in Pakistan. And there's such a huge scope for it. So I would say that you should start by finding what you're passionate about and being like a front runner for creativity in the way that you want to be.
Amazing. And I think that was very convincing too as well. But Asif Saab, how will you wrap this conversation up?
In what regard?
In terms of that, we do have this stigma too as well for women to work in the television industry. I mean,
But
I'm
that
not
is
just
what I want
talking
you
about
to
boys
ask
too
him.
as well. I mean,
The
it's for the
process.
boys and it's for the girls too as well, ladies and gentlemen. It happens both ways. It's not that it's not. How do you think that they can have all the characteristics of their personality stay intact and be what they wanted to be, not that what people told them to be?
Not lose the
If we
individuality.
just start, I'd say that ours is a male-dominating society, but thank God we have got lots of education, and now more females are coming into different fields through this education and awareness. Because previously, and still, males are going to design their roles, and they are just going to click them there, that you cannot come out of this role. And they cannot properly realize their potential. And I just quote, there is this one dialogue from the Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher's movie. There, before getting married, when she stands perhaps with a fiance, and there she tells him very clearly that, look, after getting married, do not think that I'm going to stay in the kitchen. I've got my goals, I've got my targets, and I've got my dreams, and I've got to realize them. That's wonderful, I mean. Exactly. So, I mean, through this education, awareness. Now, even parents, they allow we have got these youngsters, they're just sitting because of their parents' support, so they're sitting outside. So I think we have got a very
So you're trying to say that because of the example we people have set, you know, parents are quite confident about the fact that, you know, their kids will be safe and in great hands too as well. Very nice, thank you. Imran, what about you?
About what, like the media?
About how do you want to wrap it up? How do you want to pursue?
Well, if I'm talking to my people of Pakistan, I would say just like, you know, people who give up halfway, don't give up. Whatever you do, like give 100%. And there's a thing called 10,000 hour rule. Apply that in your life, and like don't see how far, like, you know, you have to go. See how far you have come.
Amazing.
Like, just don't give up, basically, because the pot of gold is at the end of the rainbow.
And before Hamza wraps it up, whatever Hamza needs to say, Hamza, you know, whatever I said earlier wasn't for you. It was for all those people who are out there.
I didn't mind
because
it,
we
because
almost
it's
got 1 million mails probably in a week that, you know, and same is the question which people ask that, you know, okay, how do we get into it?
Exactly.
What they don't do is their homework. That's what I want people to do, their homework. Once you're well equipped, once you're well informed, nobody can stop your wave. That's what it is. So how would you wrap it up? How will you make your way through?
I want to say that whatever the young generation who is in this industry or the studying, they should be consistent and motivated towards their work. This is the key feature to be successful.
Amazing that is. Thank you very much for joining us. It was lovely to be in conversation. And if there was anything which you didn't like, well, I'm sorry for that.
No, but we loved having you on the show. It was a great conversation.
As a great host, I need to be apologetic too.
You are a great host, I have to say. But you guys, if you have decided that you want to be a part of the media industry, be it in any capacity, you want to be off-screen, on-screen, whatever, just stick to it. I mean, whatever you have decided, be persistent in it, and you are going to get it by the end of the time. Not by the end, I mean to say, sooner or later.
All right, and you know, since I mentioned, you know, during the show that I'm going to tell you how to actually tap into different fields. So for all those people who want to be models or they want to feature within, you know, TVCs, which is television commercials, there are different agencies. For example, one of the best ones is Citrus Talent. You know, you can go log on to their websites as well.
And this is his personal experience, we're not sponsored.
Get their phone numbers. What they'll do is that they will do your photo shoots for free. And then what they do is that they keep on sending the newer pictures and the newer faces to the clients too as well, as per on their demand. And if they like you, you know, you are in. So it's totally on merit. If the client's going to like you, you're in. Now, when we talk about television, they have these audition calls, and, you know, it's always running. There are different commercials for that too on social media, on their own TV channels. Make sure that you go over there. They're absolutely correct. They're 100% authentic, and they can be a learning phase in your career even if you do not win them. And you can have a good PR. Other than that, different channels have always, on their websites, they have these links where you can actually go post your CVs and they can contact you.
So whenever they do have a vacancy, they will contact you.
So these are the simple processes. Please make sure that you chase your dreams like a crazy rider. All right, this is what I want you to do.
Yes, of course. And since the weather is amazing, go out, have a lot of fun, but also be safe for your surroundings, for the people around you, for the people who love you, and for yourselves, of course.
Exactly. And this is it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Please do write to us on our Facebook fan page, which is with the name of
Well This Morning.
On Twitter.
Well This Morning without a G.
On Dailymotion and YouTube.
Well This Morning.
And this fabulous repeat is going to be at
11:05 in the night.
Till the next time, 1, 2, 3.
Good morning.